Thank you, Carolina. Is that Carolina?
Carolina.
I'm getting that. Thanks, Chuck. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I have a story that relates to my experience as an African American in Africa. I was born in Brooklyn in 1946. It didn't take me too long to realize I was part of a group of people, born into a group of people, that were looked down upon and kind of restricted to access in American society. We called ourselves Negroes or colored people. And for those who had some anger and maybe some terrible thoughts in their minds and hearts, they called us nigger. But don't get me wrong, life for a colored boy in Brooklyn was not that bad. I had loving parents, kind, a caring and supportive community. And this community helped me to grow and face the world. What our parents would tell us as we were coming up to help prepare us for the future was, you have to work twice as hard to get half as far as white people. Now, that's some work ethic to teach your children. But we managed, we coped. Then it came clear to me as we grew, I grew older, and the world kind of evolved, that things were changing. There was more access, legal access to equality. There was more gains in access to American society. And as a group of people, we started to think of ourselves a little differently. We began to think not of being descendants of slaves, but of being descendants of Africans, kings and queens, ancient kingdoms, societies that loved and embraced each other. My wife started going to college in the early 70s. She joined the dance class, African dance class. And I started playing the drums for this dance class. Then we became a group. I played drums for the group. And then for the next, I guess, 2, 3, 4 decades, I embraced the African culture. Became a drummer, wore the dashikis. And during this time, late 60s, early 70s, as we changed our thought process, changed our hairstyles. You know, no more of that slick back hair. We had naturals, we called it, afros. Oh, yeah. Never mind that no African wore afros. But, you know, we were cool. As we changed our mindset, we also changed our names. No longer Negroes, we were African Americans. No longer colored, we were black, and we were proud. So I began to long in my heart and soul to go to Africa. I wanted to go to Africa, the homeland, the cradle of civilization, where I could be not judged, but accepted. Welcome home, black man. Welcome home, brother. So this started in the 70s. And in 2008, I finally got my opportunity. Yes. Sister Cities. You may have heard of them, maybe not. But it's an international organization founded and developed to bring about dialogue between people of different cultures, different countries, in an effort to prevent war. You know, if you know somebody, you don't want to fight them. And Asheville, Sister Cities, had a group forming to go to Oshogbo, Nigeria. Now, Sister Cities works like this. You sign an agreement between another city and another country, and you can go there. They'll put you up, feed you, and take you around, showing you their culture and giving you a free tour of the country. And then they get to come here to Asheville, and we do the same for them. So when I was asked by Valeria, the head of the Oshogbo committee, did I want to go to Oshogbo, Nigeria? I said, oh yeah, I want to go. And we did. My first, I guess, impression of Oshogbo was the architecture was not African. I'm there saying, wow, all this British structure and infrastructure, but they had these walls around the houses and around the communities. And these walls, concrete in most cases, topped by barbed wire and broken glass. I'm thinking, I wonder if there was a security concern here. Well, that was a little bit heightened by the fact that our host provided us with 2 police officers in uniform, just to kind of keep a watch on us, I guess, and help us out. We needed it. Armed with AK-47, banana clip. Yeah, but that's all they had. They didn't have any nightsticks, man. Just a uniform and an AK-47. But they were the nicest guys. They really were. They were nice guys. So anyway, we had gone to this signing ceremony. And before we got there, we had a little disagreement with some people on the roadside there. And I found out that the Nigerian way of handling conflict was to argue as loudly and racistly as you could. And the one who argued the loudest, with the most emotion, won. So those are 2 things I learned about Nigeria. So we go to the signing ceremony, and they got African drummers and African dancers, and they were dancing and drumming, playing the shaker-rays and the cowbells, and they were flipping and carrying on. And I said, I am in heaven. I'm an African drummer, and I can see all these dances. Oh man, it was like, great, love it, love it, love it. So, okay, then we left there. Another day we went to a house for someone who was helping debutantes come into the African society, and they had drummers there. And the drummers, playing the drums, finished, they passed the drum around. When it got to me, because it had gone down people's place, people were saying, bop, 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 pass the drum. Doop, 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 pass the drum. Got to me, I'm going, blah, 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 bam! Oh, you can play the drums. I'm like, yeah, I'm Africa now. So anyway, the people that came there to play the drums, I'm trying to get this microphone just right. The people that came there to play the drums told me that there was going to be a contest. And in this contest, they were going to find out who was the winner in the whole state. And I said, a contest? I want to go. Told my hosts, and they made arrangement for us to go to this contest. And there were 12 of us on this trip. About 8 of us went to the concert and the contest. And there was about 4 of the Nigerian hosts that went with us. Got there, big community center. Walked through the front door, down towards the stage. We get to the stage, maybe 4 rows back. Everybody's jumping, jamming, and there's one group on the side preparing to go on stage. And they plan on working with fire. So we're back there, they have their building their fire thing so they can go on stage next. And we look, and the curtain's on fire at the exit in the rear. So we all look at each other like, oh goodness. So we jump up and run screaming, fire, fire, out the front door. Then we looked at the Nigerians, and they're looking at the stage, over at the fire, and looked back at the stage. The performers were still performing. And we're like, what? Meanwhile, the people with the curtain burning, the curtain was burning, the doorway was burning, and they were beating her, trying to get and they got the fire out. I'm thinking, boy, these Nigerians don't get rattled too easily. By the way, their performance was great. They were throwing the things back and forth with the fire, and they were jumping over the fire, and they really were doing a great job. I think they won, but we couldn't stay to the end because we had to leave. One of our members had a little stomachache. Walking out of the door, the 8 of us, with our 3 escorts, well, there was 4 actually. 3 stayed behind for some reason to do something. We're going through this parking lot. Parking lot is dark, and the bus we were on was way down at the end. So we're walking in a group. And then our escort, about 3/4 of the way, the escort goes that way and goes to his car. So we're walking by ourselves almost the rest of the way to the bus. When we look to our right, there's a man, civilian clothes, with an AK-47. And we're looking at each other and looking at him, and he's not saying anything, and we're walking. We get on the bus. He stands by the door of the bus as we get on, and we're wondering, what's going on here? We asked the driver, he's about 18, 19 years old, what's he doing here? The driver asked the guy with the gun, and they get into some brief, intercourse in Nigerian language, Yoruba. And then we asked him, well, what did he say? He said, I don't know. He's drunk. Something about money. So we're on the bus saying, oh no, is this guy going to rob us? What's happening here? We got a drunk man with an AK-47. It's a rifle, automatic, semi-automatic, yeah. Finally, our hosts arrive, and they ask him, what's going on? Ask him, the guy with the gun. And he tells them, and our host, in true Nigerian fashion, went, and they're hollering back and forth, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. You can't win an argument yelling at a man with an AK-47. Well, anyway, we're sitting on the bus. They call security. The security comes. They look, and they say, we can't do anything about this. So then the man with the gun gets upset, and he starts hollering more. And then we hear, racket! Oh, Lord. I'm sitting in front of the bus, and I turn around to all my compatriots and say, you know something? If you know how to pray, this would be a good time for it. And so we all kind of put our heads down and said some version of, God, help us, please. Just about that time, one of our hosts, Wole Baba, ex-Nigerian military, he gets on the bus and hands us a clip and a bullet. Hide this. It turns out that it wasn't the guy locking and loading. It was Wole Baba taking the gun from him and unloading it, handed him the gun back, gave us the bullets. Safe. Finally, the police arrive, and it turns out that this guy, why the guards, the security wouldn't bother him, he was a police officer in plain clothes. He was supposed to be down the road guarding a bank, but he decided to leave the bank, go to the club, get drunk, and then come to get money from us for escorting us to the bus. Truth be told, if we had known what he wanted, we'd have gave him the money. Hey, no, things work out the way they do. But that's not the worst experience I had there. I had a devastating experience for me. We were told by sister cities, when you go there, take some pictures. Show them your community, your hometown, your relatives and friends. I had pictures from the Blue Ridge Parkway and downtown Asheville and my family and friends. And one of the people on the bus, one of the hosts, said, "Oh, I see you have a white wife." And I looked at all my pictures, and everybody in that picture was black, African American. So I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean, white wife?" He said, "Well," no, I said, "Why did you call her my white wife?" He said, "Because you're white." And I said something that I probably shouldn't have said, and I'm not going to tell you what it was, but I was really impolite. I was not a good guest for these hosts. I went off because I spent my whole life being black and kind of ostracized for that, having to struggle because I was black. Here I am in the homeland, cradle of civilization, where I was expected to be welcomed as a brother, black man, and he's telling me I'm white. So by the time I finished venting, the whole bus was kind of awkwardly silent. Now I was a little bit ashamed. But then Valeria, the woman who got me involved in the trip, the head of the Oshogo committee in Asheville, she said, "Don't worry, Wallace. They call all of us white. We're all white." Talking about all the African Americans. And I'm like, you could have put that in the orientation. And then I found out that they didn't even like us. Not us. They didn't like white people. How I found this out was we went to this another program. It was an international celebration of Oshun at the Oshun River. She was the goddess of the Yoruba religion. International UN-sanctioned spot. Over 1,000 people showed up. We were VIP guests sitting in the front row. The people on stage, the kings, governor, all the bigwigs. I was chosen by one of the newscasters to give a little, interview. What do you think about, the festival? Or what do you think about Oshogo, blah, blah, blah. We're standing in front of the stage. And the stage, of course, everybody was kind of on a break. And one woman, African-American woman from California, dressed in a Nigerian garb, she said, "I want you to move. You're in the way. I can't see." Ugly American. The Nigerian who was doing the interview said, "We'll only be a minute. There's nothing going on stage." And the woman insisted, "You need to move out of my way. Ah, la, 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 la." So the African woman, the newscaster, turned to a photographer who was filming this and said, "Wait a minute." She sucked her teeth and rolled her eyes and said, "Those white people." Talking about her. My almost instantaneous reaction was, "Yeah, them white people." Then I said, wait a minute. She's me. She's talking about me too. White people. And that really devastated me. I was like, oh my goodness. So here I am. Who am I? What am I? In America, I'm black. In my homeland, Africa, I'm white. So who am I really? So I decided to name myself, knowing that there's only one race. I decided to call myself a brown-skinned human being.
Let's give it another hand for Wallace Bohanon. Thank you so much. And it just reminds me that I think this year there's a lot of organizations and places that are exploring the whole thing of identity. So I thank you, Wallace, for bringing that up because sometimes we think we know who we are, right? Until we go somewhere else and we are confronted with these other realities. So thank you for sharing that story with us. We're moving on.